today. Just gonna make this into a bowl. So step by step on what to do. First of all, you need to find a bit of timber that is big enough for the bowl you want to make. So this is a bit of oak, and it's about 15 by 15 centimeters if I am not mistaken. What I'm going to do, I'm finding the center, and this is a handy dandy little tool for that. It lines up the corner like that, and you just draw a line there, and it's good. Now, the reason why we do it like this is because I want this to be the top of my bowl. If I make the cross here, this will be the top of my bowl. I want this to be the top of my bowl. Right. What we're going to do then is going to take a drill bit, and that drill bit needs to be to fit the size of the center screw that you have. In this case, my drill bit is, what was that, 27/64 of an inch. I don't know what that is in millimeter, but I will tell you it's 10.5. That will do well. Now what we're going to do next, we're going to drill as deep as the tape has marked here, because that's just a little bit deeper than the screw goes. That's what we're going to do. From there, and try to get that into the center. Just go to where the tape is. No, not any further. Now, for a chuck. Now this is a one-way chuck. You might have a different chuck, but the chuck normally always comes with a worm screw. They work just about the same, all of them. This has groove on it. Those screws align with the screws. So there are 4 grooves, because there are 4 set of screws. And you put it in, and before you close it and tighten it, you just wiggle it and see if it is like it in the slot. And also, make sure it's pulled out before you tighten the chuck. And the chuck doesn't need to be that tight, it's just need to be like that. Then, just take the wood, the timber, the material, and we screw it on. Right. And it should be a little bit tight. Now my tailstock has a lock on it, and I use it. That lock for my lathe is designed to lock the tailstock, the headstock, sorry, so I can put stuff on it. Some lathe doesn't have that option. Some lathes have that option when it's not designed to put pressure on it. It's just for indexing. So when you got stuff on a worm screw like this, always use a tailstock for support, because it is not the best hold, and it never will be, but it's good enough as long as you got a support for it, and until it's round, because then it's going to be worth it. I'm going to wear my helmet, my mask, because I don't like wood chips in my mouth, and if it's stuff starting to fall off, we can get in trouble. Right. Starting up a piece like this, it's really important to go at a slow speed. So start the lathe up rather slow. This is about 400 RPM, sorry about that. My lathe is a heavy one, so I can go a little bit higher speed. You should go as high as the speed as you can until it starts vibrating the lathe. Now this is about where my lathe starts to vibrate with this piece on. That's about 1000 RPMs. And there it is, and you turn it down a little bit. Right, the first thing we do is we take our gouge. This is a 1/2 inch ball gouge, by the way. That's the heel touching the timber, and we start to twist it slowly until it starts biting, cutting. Now you see that cuts. When it's just cutting, I pull backwards, same angle, using my body to pull, not my arms, and make sure that I have good contact with the timber. And we can do that again. Right, and we get a little bit more aggressive with it when we get confident with it, and tilt the tool a little bit more so it takes a bigger cut. That way we remove more material. Now all we're doing right now is make sure that our bottom is flat, so we got a nice surface to work from. So about 3 to 5 cuts is normally what it takes for most timbers. Right, that's that. Now we need to work. Now this is flat and nice. we need to make this round. Now I can go with my tool rest like this and have it beating into my tool all the time, doom, boom, boom. Or I can take a spindle roughing gouge, and do the same. But there's another way and an easier way. Take the tool rest again. We didn't move it from before. This is still the same position. We just believe that. Remember that earlier when we just put the heel on and to the tool? Yeah, we don't do that right now. We just start a little bit by going in until the start cuts. And then we just, as soon as it starts cutting, we tilt the tool outwards a little bit and go out. We start from a solid plate and we just start nibbling away. And because we're going from a solid plate, we don't get hard beating on our tool. Right? And we just keep doing that until we remove as much of the material as necessary. And we don't want the tool to go too far over, because then this gets unstable and wobbly, and it's bad for the tool, it's bad for the handles, it's bad for you. Now at this point we could probably go a bit higher with the speed. Yeah, we could go to 1200 now before the vibration starts. So that's fine. I'm just going to keep working it like this, making sure all the time that our bevel right there, that part that is ground away, has contact with the timber at all times. So now we're just starting to round it out, and the wings here are still almost intact. They're far out, and that's nice. So far we're just making a round shape, and we do that until we are just about ready. And when are we ready? We are ready when we see that it's starting to get close to this part here, when this is round in the middle. When that happens, we turn our tool rest. Now, we take down to a corner aligned with the tool rest. And we only move our tool rest when the lathe is stationary. Right, when you get really good and are not afraid anymore, we can talk about doing other stuff. But right now, this is what we're going to do. Now, the top view here will show you the speed, the lathe spinning like that, and me trying to nibble away. And if you look carefully, you should see that even though I am turning air, which I'm doing right now, I still have contact with the bevel. The bevel is still in contact with the timber, which means even though I'm only touching timber 10% to 50% of the time, something like that, in that range, depending on where we are, I still have contact. That reduces vibration and gives you a way smoother cut. Also, as good as you can, get a wide stand with your legs, like this. Have the tool rest against your body as much as you can. You probably can't do it from all the way in here, but as soon as you start the cut, get close and rest against your body. So now you have 3 points of support. One is the tool rest, another one is your backhand, and the third one, that's actually your hip or your belly. Right, so you get to this point now, you can see when it's starting to sputter, it's because I was impatient and took too big of a cut. Now the entirety of my tool is engaged right there, a cutting edge out here, which means I don't have proper contact. Only here I have contact with the bevel, not out here, and that's giving us a bad cut. In that case, you pull the tool out and you nibble away at it like this, and it's alright to take your time and nibble a little bit. Just practice that bevel to be in contact with the timber all the time. Now, again, if you're not sure on how to get contact with the timber, you put the heel towards the timber and pull the tool backwards and lift the handle upwards until it starts to cut. There, this tool is cutting now. Now, I tilt it a little bit on the side, and I push it like this along the shape that I want. Now, also, what I'm going is, because this is a bend, I am lifting the back side of the handle at the same time. And we can just reduce that a little bit like that. So that is how we're starting to rough it out. And this is just 1/2 inch ball gouge. It's nothing big. I didn't use spindle roughing gouge. I didn't use a scraper or anything. I just went straight in with my 1/2 inch ball gouge and tried to be a hero. But with the right technique, like I showed you, you don't put extra strain on the tool, and you can get a good cut, and you don't have to buy extra tools. Now, as a wood turner, it is often ill-advised to go uphill. Now, this is going uphill. But if this was a spindle blank, this is going uphill, but this is a ball blank, which means that it's going to be okay. Now try again to get contact with the tool towards the timber, and when you have reasonable good contact, the tool should leave a smooth surface. Right. Now we are at the stage now that we can get the speed up quite a bit now, and I would advise you to always have the speed as high as you're comfortable with, but also as high as you can without the subject or lathe vibrating. Now my lathe is really heavy, so I can easily, this is 2,500 RPMs, and I have no issues whatsoever with that speed. I can easily do that. Now I just want to make sure that my edge here is completely rounded out. So I'm just going to do that with a few cuts. If you don't know if you are there yet, if it's round, you take your tool, you put it on top, and if it sounds like it's just touching the timber, you're all good. You don't need to change anything. But if it sounds like it's bouncing like then it's not round. This was a little bit, you can hear a little bit, and that's why there. So let's just make sure, like a standard tool that you would buy, I'm not talking about brand, but standard M2 steel H, which if it's just stamp HHS, will hold an edge for about 10 to 20 minutes. In oak, you would be surprised if you get way more than 10 minutes. In the softer wood, yeah, you can probably get 20 minutes. So there you have it. That's how often you should sharpen your tools, between 10 and 20 minutes. Right. Now, as you can see, good bevel contact and a sharp tool. Of course, going downhill leaves a surface that really don't need sandpaper. And that's it, really. That's all you need. This is ready to go straight off. But we're just going to make a few more cuts to get this ball to be a little bit more ball shape-like. So I'm going to need to take a little bit more away from around here to around there. I think that is where I'm going to stop it. So let's just do that. The reason for this being that a ball with too steep of sides, it is a lot harder to turn and make. And let me just show you that. I decided where I wanted to go, with the side where it should end. And that's the line I made. It's right there with my nail, and that's where my cut ended, within a millimeter, and I got a nice curve on it. And this is not a bad surface, it's close to perfect. Let's say you made a bad cut and you got torn grain on it. Let's say, if I can't do it, a lot of turners would go in like that with the tip of the tool, and you will get a cut like this. And you get a cut like this. As you can see here, there are small holes and it doesn't look even. That's because you're going straight up against the grain, but it also because you hadn't had a proper tool presentation and you didn't have contact with the bevel, and the cut is a little bit uneven, it's wrinkly. It's because I went in with my tool like that without contact. So let's just try and get rid of that with a nice cut. So we put the heel on, pull the tool down a little bit, and then we're going to start, as soon as I start engaging, tilt the tool a little bit, and we're just going to go around, and if we lose it, we're just going to go back and restart it. Now the shape is off a little bit from what I imagined that would be great, and also I had a little mark. Well, I moved my body a little bit, so I made a dent, a line there. That's my fault, it's bad, but most of this is really good. And a little bit of 240 sandpaper, maybe 320, and this is a perfectly good surface to go on with again. Right, to make the next part of this, we need to flip the piece around. We need to flip it around on the lathe, and to flip it around we need to make a recess, and a recess is where we use the jaws on our chucks, right? And there are two different kind of jaws. There are jaws that are straight, kind of straight out here on the outside, and there are jaws that are really heavy. Let me see, about that angle. It is conical or dovetail shaped is what they're called. If you have dovetails like this is way too big for this project anyway. If you have dovetails like this, you need to measure this here, go in and make it out a little bit, cut out. But we don't have that. On the jaws I'm going to use, we have jaws like this, and they're straight, and that's reasonable enough to make the hole straight. What we're going to do, I've always my calipers. I have one set of calipers that I have set up for the jaws that I prefer to use on a lot of projects. Now, these are measured when the jaws are closed all the way, and I measured this to the exact same diameter and added 1 millimeter. When we do this, it is really important to make sure that this part of the tool does not touch the timber. Right. So this part here does not touch the timber. This one is rounded a little bit, so if it does get close, it doesn't bite as hard. Now we offer up this side, and we offer off the other side to see if the ring matches, and if it does, we make an indentation. Now, that indentation is telling us how big a hole we're gonna make. If you're a beginning wood turner, you can take right now your parting tool and part your way in like that. If you're a little bit more experienced, you just take your ball gouge like this, and you just turn a straight in hole like that. Now be careful here, you don't want to go too deep all at once like this. Right, mind you, I did not go all the way to the edge right now, because I can do that with a fine little cut. Now it's important to know the way your cut will go is the way of the bevel. Right. Now that direction here, like this, it means this tool will cut that way. So when you put it in like that, of course we should make bevel contact, but the bevel contact should be here on the outside right now. And we just push it in, and we go straight in, and be careful down there. When you get to the bottom, you don't push further in, you stop. Right, so now we made a small, that one. Now the bottom, we want that to be a little bit flat, so we're just going to go a semicircle here. So we're going to go in here, have the tool to start engaging, and push it towards the center while pulling the handle upwards. So we're going to go in like an arch way down to the center and cut off that little nipple in the middle. Right. Now this is a reasonable good recess. What is important though, that corner needs to be really, really sharp. And how do you make a sharp corner? Well, you take a tool like this chisel and go into the corner and make sure that nothing is left in there. Then you can take the flat part of it and use it as a scraper. This is not what this tool is intended for, but boy does it do a good job like this. Right, so there you go. Now if we don't have a chuck to reverse it again at the end to clean it up, we finish the outside right now. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to clean that up because it's got a little bit of torn grain right there. Be careful with the rim here, we don't go too close. This should not be too thin because this is the timber, this is all that's supporting the jaws, and we're going to put a lot of pressure on our jaws because we want this to hold pretty well. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a tool and reach out to the other side of our lathe, off of the heel, and pull down until we start cutting, and then we're going to make a push cut. And this push cut, I'm going to take care of it, babysit it, because we just got 2 points of contact, and we should not talk while we do this, we should concentrate. And as you can see, that I'm going to leave some lines. I'm going to leave some lines because I don't have a third point of contact like you would in your hip or whatever, but we're still going to sand this, so that's going to be fine. Right, now's the time. Lathe, stop. Now the lathe stop, we remove the tool rest. Let's just see. Now that little bit of torn grain is gone and everything here looks great. So let's start sand this, the back side of it, because we're going to play like we don't have anything to turn this away from at the end. So sanding it, when we sand we go down in speed, 600 to 1000 RPMs. That's its recommended. The sandpaper would last a lot longer. It just takes a little bit longer to sand. Now when you do this, be careful not to sand the walls here of the tenon, the recess, sorry. So let's see, I said we're going to start with 240 grit sandpaper, because I think that should be plenty enough for this. I'm just going to use a rotator here, a rotating bit thing, because that goes a lot faster. It's just a sanding bit attached to a battery powered drill. And I'm just going to sand really quickly. I think this sandpaper is a little bit worn. There you go. Now it works. As you probably can see right now, the few lines that are left from my tool will get away really quick with just a little bit of sandpaper. And this is just 240 grit sandpaper, and it's not that aggressive. It is not completely done yet. I shouldn't have gone to 240, I should have started 280 because I needed a little bit more. I was too cocky. So just really quickly like that. And that was well worth it, going down one grid. And just add the 240 again. And we don't need to sand it much more than this. So there you go. And that looks really nice. Right, now this needs to come off the lathe. So we block the spindle. Different lathes have different ways of blocking the spindle. Mine has a thing to do it. So I can block the spindle and turn this off like that. Take that center screw out. And now we see how well I made the that recess. There's a little bit of play here, but that's fine. Now I open up. There should be like a couple of millimeters between the jaws. And before I tighten all the way, I like to just turn it a little bit like this and then tighten. Right. I like to tighten both sides. You don't have to, but what it does, because you tighten like this, because this is wood. Wood is kind of soft and it will move on you. So when you tighten the first time, you compress the fibers, and then you turn the chuck and tighten again, and that compresses the fiber even more. And when you do it the third time, you will make sure that you got a good grip. Now, that's the plan, that's the hope, that's what we want. Nothing ever goes as planned. That's why we have our face shield on. Now, if all is good, this should turn rather true on the outside, and it is within a millimeter, so that is good. Now, the same thing here. We have a tool rest just below center, right, and the tool rest is rather close to the piece, and we take the speed up as far as we want, maybe, and we just do the pull cuts again, add the heel to it like this, start turning it until it starts cutting, and we just pull. And you can see out here, it was a lot of bouncing. And we just do the pull cuts like that, and there we have it. Now we turn off the speed, and we go as fast as we are comfortable with. About 2,500 RPMs, this here will be good. And we do the same thing again. We add the heel to the piece and start tilting until they start cutting. And now we're going to go a little bit more because we want to cut into the timber. Right. And we can just repeat that. And we're just going in steps like this. We're not going to go all the way down. We're going to stop something like that. And we're going to go about 1/4 of an inch. 1/4 of an inch steps. 1/2 centimeters to a centimeter, in that range. It's something like that. And we're going to go close to the finished diameter of the ball. We're not going to go all the way there yet. Right. Now we got a good place to start from again. So now we have steps to go from again, and we're just going to go again. The first one is always disappear, because what we're doing, we put the tip in and we pull it towards us while we push it into the timber. So just now we got a place to start from, and we pull it in like that, and make sure that the you have contact with the bevel to the timber. Always like that. Pull it in, and take your time with this. Now this is a demo video, so I'm going to speed it up, and this is what happens if you don't pay attention. It will start bouncing around like that, right, like this. Now what you want to do to avoid that is you put it in, hold it tight with your hand, and take care when you offer the tool into the timber, and just pay attention to what you're doing. and step this down maybe half an inch at a time, not more than that, and just take your time. Right, now you think you're about the right depth. And to do that, we need to measure how deep we can go into the ball. Now the ball itself, the material, it is 5 centimeters deep, just about 2 inches, and I had made a recess in the bottom. That's about 1/4 of an inch, a little bit more. So what we're doing here, we're taking out calipers and add that and going out. So here I am about halfway of the ball. That's about half of the thickness of the ball. So that's halfway there. I use both metric and inches because I'm growing with metric. That's what I learned to always use. But all Americans in other parts of the world use inches, imperial. So I learned myself somewhat of an easy conversion in my head for some of the most used measurements. They're not accurate, but they're close. So for this now, we're starting to get a bit too much overhang on our tool, which means it will start to vibrate, right? Because we got the 2 inches thick material, and we're about 1 inch deep now, and we need to we need to hollow out a little bit more. I want the wall thickness of this to be about 1/4 of an inch, in that range, maybe a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt the tool rest in, tilt it like that. So now it's tilted into the piece, which means I get more support. Now the tip of the tool rest, it's past the center of it, which means I don't go over the edge. Let's go and start hollowing. It's the same thing again. Now we know I did 3 steps here. 3 steps to get to this depth. So my steps is just about 1/3 of an inch. Now I need to go at least 1 more step. So because I still have the thing at the bottom I don't need to go through. So we're just going to go 1 more step. And that step is we're going to finish it, all of it, in the center. And which is why we don't want to go too deep. What we do, we put the tool in and we make an arch motion towards the center. So an arch motion towards the center, that will give us a good cut. Now we need to clean up everything here. So we start from the outside. As soon as the cut starts, we can actually do this one-handed. I would not recommend it. But as soon as that cut started, we use the hand here to help control the tool and make a nice even cut. Now we get to the bottom of the ball. We raise the tip of the tool by lowering the handle so the cutting edge get higher, and we go again an arc into the center of the ball to get a nice cut and clean cut. Right, now we should want to make this a little bit thinner. Right now it is about, let's say, 1 centimeter, it's about 11 millimeters thick, and it feels like it's just about the same all the way around. I want just a couple more cuts. Before we take the last cut, we take a fresh gouge. If you don't have a fresh gouge, you sharpen what you have, because the tool you have will last for about 10 to 20 minutes. That's what you can expect, unless you got something like an M42 steel or M42 crying hardened steel. If it's just labeled HSS, you can expect it to last between 10 and 20 minutes, depending on what you make, what tool you're using. And no, the brand does not matter. It is the tool, and that's it. Now that's reasonably good surface. You can see there are a few lines there. That is because my tool, when I go, I'm not accurate enough to keep bevel contact. When I lose my bevel contact, that is where you see those lines. So how do we avoid that? Well, we just get better or try again. Now the problem is, at some point we don't have enough material to keep trying, so we have to stop it at some point. but with a finish like the one I have here, I am confident that a little bit of sandpaper could take care of that little issue without too much job. Right, one reason why I made a shallow bore like this and not straight sides, because it is a lot, well, I mean, and it's a lot easier to turn this than a straight wall one. So if you're a beginning wood turner, I would recommend using balls like this and making them, because I'm sure that you will be a lot more successful doing this shape than any other. Right here, it's a little bit higher right here. It's not a lot, but it's a little bit, and we cannot do that for a demo video. No. We cannot see it, I can feel it. So I'm just going to sand this, and I'm going to start with 120 grit because there's a few more lines in there. But again, we don't start with 80 grit. There's no reason that 80 grit even exists unless you have a really bad piece of material. If you have a standard piece of material, that's just fine. This would do. A nice little ball. Okay, so I'm gonna add some Danish oil to it, and this is a version that hardens, right? So that surface is gonna be durable and last for many generations. So I'm just gonna squeeze in a little bit, and that's plenty. And with in this case, a sponge, I'm just gonna put it all over it and let it dry. And there we have it. Nice little bowl that's going to serve well. You can put keys in it, you can put fruit in it. I wouldn't recommend eating from it because that's when you need another surface. But for fruit and vegetables, maybe chips and candy, you can do that. Don't use it as a bowl for a cereal or whatever. That will get you in trouble. But other than that, that should do you well. Nice little bowl. Easy to do. Use the right technique and you're good to go.